If you weren't a kid when Halo 2 released, you'll never understand just how magnificent it was. On November 9th, 2004, a loud thud reverberated across America. That was the collective sound of every 10-year-old boy's jaw hitting the floor. There was a shortage of adult diapers for about 2 weeks as preteens soiled themselves from excitement. Imagine a caveman discovering fire one day, then 2 weeks later finding a pack of LED glow sticks. That was Halo 2. It is without a doubt the most impressive video game sequel ever released for the same console, and the same console is an important stipulation. Obviously the PlayStation 2's Persona 3 will seem like the second coming of Christ compared to the first two released on the Sony PSP. That's like a flower growing contest, except one person gets to plant their seeds in soil and the other in flaming hot Cheetos. Not exactly working with the same tools there, but Halo 1 and 2 were both released on the OG Xbox. And the title of most impressive sequel is not one I give out lightly. There have been some most impressive sequels that are leaps and bounds better than the previous, like Assassin's Creed 2 or Devil May Cry 3. But what makes these sequels less impressive than Halo 2 is that Assassin's Creed 1 and Devil May Cry 2 aren't that great of games to begin with. Serve me a microwave turd as an appetizer, and you'll knock my socks off with your grilled cheese sandwich. But no, Halo went from being amazing to being amazing times 100. Dual wielding, vehicle jacking, and best of all, it stayed an action first-person shooter, yet managed to deliver a brand new experience, unlike another fantastic sequel competitor, the Batman Arkham Saga. Just like Halo 2, Batman Arkham City expanded on almost every aspect of Arkham Asylum, but whereas City is an open-world action game, Asylum offers a more Metrovania-style experience, and it's easier to impress when you offer this new experience. It's one of the reasons why Breath of the Wild gained so much attention. Sure, it was a good game, but the fact that it broke away from traditional Zelda games is what made it noteworthy. Is Gotham City really that much better, or is it just different? Well, we don't have to debate that with Halo 1 and 2. And there's something special about a genre-defining game that just tops itself 3 years later. It's like every James Cameron sequel ever made. They took a good, honest look at Halo 1 in order to improve it. So you might be thinking, okay Phil, so you want a sequel that's like the first game? Well, not exactly. Borderlands 2 is probably the best game in the series, but it doesn't feel different than Borderlands 1. Yes, it tweaks the gameplay, has a deeper plot, and includes Handsome Jack, the charismatic antagonist that the first Borderlands desperately needed. But what really separates itself from the first one? In Halo Combat Evolved, we take the role of Master Chief as he battles his way through the enemy alien race, only for Bungie to go ahead and flip the script for the sequel. How playing as the Arbiter is not one of the most praised media twists of all time is a travesty. It should be right up there with Luke and Darth Vader. But that's a video for a different day. Sure, I can't even go back to Borderlands 1 after the second one, but it's missing that defining feature that makes 2 its own game. There's nothing that incites as much awe as when you first go invisible as the Arbiter and it hits you. Oh yeah, this is the real thing. But there is another sequel that includes an utterly mind-blowing moment like Halo 2's Arbiter, and that's the N64's Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. And I know it's a controversial statement, but I think we're all adult enough now to admit that Majora's Mask really is the superior game. Just those transformation masks alone was just mwah. It's a feature that hasn't been matched since. And Majora's Mask might deserve the title of most impressive sequel if it wasn't for one glaring problem. It wasn't as beloved by fans at the time of release. While the darker, more mature themes and the ticking clock create a chilling atmosphere, it was a little much for the youth of yesteryear. I definitely got nightmares from this game. Majora's Mask could have taken the title for most impressive sequel, but unfortunately it just wasn't as appreciated during its initial release, opposed to Halo 2, which was instantly accepted with open arms. And if that doesn't satisfy you, well, it's hard to declare Majora's Mask as the most impressive sequel when there's still a large base in denial about which game is superior, unlike Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, which is universally accepted as the better game. From story to exciting new feature, Snake Eater just improves on almost every aspect of Sons of Liberty. But the one aspect that makes Halo 2 the superior sequel is the graphics. Sure, Metal Gear Solid 3 takes players from the industrial setting of the big shell to the lush jungle. Unfortunately, the graphics are just too similar. Unlike Halo, where I still can't wrap my head around that these two games were released on the same console. While any Nintendo game has proven that graphics are not the end-all be-all, there's just something about going from this to this. And you're not going to think Halo 2's graphics are anything special if you're a Gen Z viewer, but for those 10-year-old gamers 20 years ago, it was like going from 32-bit pixel art to ray tracing. Just look at Halo's lifeless environments and flat textures next to Halo 2. And you might be thinking, Phil, you just disqualified Assassin's Creed and Devil May Cry because the original trash games easily made the sequels shine in comparison. Why would Halo's bad graphics get a pass? While Assassin's Creed and Devil May Cry are genuinely bad games, seriously, I have to fight not to fall asleep while playing Assassin's Creed. Wake up. Halo Combat Evolved's graphics are on par with its contemporaries. Graphically speaking, the early 2000s were a pretty awkward time. I mean, when this is your competition,
Hello, Harry.
Halo doesn't look half bad. Reviewing the criteria, Halo 2 only has one true competitor where the original and sequel were released on the same console, the original is actually a good game, the two share the same genre, yet the sequel has enough differences to forge its own identity, and there's a vast graphical improvement. And that game is Pokemon Gold and Silver. But what makes Halo 2 just barely win the title of most impressive sequel is those extra goodies that the developers never intended. One of Halo 2's defining features is all the goofy, fun glitches. Super bounces, sword cancels, specter climbs, and so many more add a whole nother layer of entertainment. Pokemon Red and Blue was another game that could be easily busted wide open, but Silver and Gold, not so much. Really, the main glitch was cloning, but every attempt put your save file at risk. And maybe you don't accept glitches as a valid reason why Halo 2 should be crowned the most impressive sequel, because, to be fair, Pokemon Gold and Silver have amazing post-game content, a feature fans have been begging Game Freak to reintroduce. While Halo 2 may not have post-game content in the traditional sense because it doesn't really jive well for the genre, it does have one feature that greatly increases replayability: the skulls. For those unfamiliar with Halo 2 skulls, they're cleverly hidden items within the campaign levels that, when found, drastically affect gameplay. We're talking increasing all the enemies to their highest rank, making it so your shield only recharges when you melee an enemy, and even fun ones like headshots makes enemies explode. All but like 2 skulls spawn exclusively on legendary difficulty, meaning, just like beating Red in either Gold and Silver, only the most hardcore players will find them. And you might think that's still not enough to compete with having the entire Kanto region to conquer after defeating the Elite Four, but the variety that the skulls introduce can make Halo 2 feel like a completely different game. Plus, the skulls are just one type of Easter egg among many, like the Scarab gun. And if you still don't believe that Halo 2 is the most impressive sequel ever made, then I just have 2 words for you: Xbox Live.